Mexicans in general, really interesting people. And I'm talking about the nationality, even though I guess you could say I can mention the ethnicity, which are Hispanic / Latino, however you want to define it. You know, it's supposed to be Latino because Hispanic is not a race. It gets a little bit confusing because normally if you write down the list of race, you have black, white, then let's see, it's supposed to be Asian, yes, or Southeast Asian, South Asian, which I prefer Indian. It gets a little confusing. Pacific Islander, Native American, right? Even though there are just so many different groups, right? Not mistaken for, let's just say, Canadian Native American and basically South American Native, which is Amerindian. You kind of get the gif where I'm coming from, right? So I've been wanting to post something a little controversial, but this is nothing hateful. And it's, let's see, it's 2/16, the 26th of June on the Thursday. I debuted the first row of Total Drama to Redunculous Race Friendly Aura. I think you had time for that, and I'm planning on doing the other two, right? Because we had two newcomers, blue and red. Not kidding, right? Blue, red pill. The blue one was really friendly, and the red one was friendly as well, but they haven't been around much. But the blue one, though, really cool. So I just wanted to share that. So the thing is, and I've been feeling really stressed out and also missing my channel and been clinically depressed, right? There was a video that I seen, okay? And if anyone is Hispanic, please do not be offended, okay? My brother's half Mexican and that helps. And I had to say I love our state next door. It just sucks that, my glob. What I've been seeing, I just had to snaggle my way on here just to talk about this, eh? New Mexico is the most dangerous state in our country. I mean, no, I know Memphis is dangerous, but darn it, Albuquerque is something else. What is going on with that city? It is a beautiful city. It is. It's just, darn it. This is why I need to stop viewing this because it's going to stress me out. Yes, I get it. It's dangerous. My city, I'm sure it is dangerous in a way, but at the same time, it's not. I don't know, okay? Honestly, from my experience, okay? Everyone's experience is different, but maybe because I'm born and nested here. I feel more safer at night than during the day. I know, I still feel safe during the day, absolutely. But at night, way safer. I'm not kidding, okay? Well, except for maybe a couple of incidents, extremely rare. But yeah, whatever. There was a video that I seen of an 11-year-old boy that got murdered because of this gang, right? And they're Mexican, by the way. That thought that family was mistaken for being a different gang. It's just, it sucks how, based on how you're born, guessing death thinks, you know what, maybe this is your time to leave. I don't believe in this stuff, okay? I'm not religious, by the way. I like to keep my thing a little hidden, right? I don't believe in God in somewhat, right? I don't read the Bible or whatever. I just don't care for that. I don't believe it. It's hard to explain it, okay? Question mark? But with an A, it's just, depending on how you look, you just get mistreated. It's so weird how in life are like this. Basically, just to run myself up on this, right? And I might be a little bit drowsy because it does take a little bit for me to fall asleep. Okay, because of my dumb insomnia. My experience growing up with Hispanics, after I've seen that video, it does worry me of how basically, you know, I would love to make a video about every race / ethnicity. I'm not kidding. There are bad sides for whites. There are bad sides for my race, absolutely. Asians, you surprised. And Indians, at least in other countries, maybe. Right? I mean, at least for my state's origin, it's mostly Hispanic, white. I know there's black as well, but not as much, which is interesting. Maybe because there's not many of us, so to speak, and you don't see that much in my city's news media. I just don't pay notice to it. Again, okay, this is the stuff I've been hearing about. My experience around Mexicans, right? again, this is the nationality. This doesn't always have to do with race, but I guess it can be with it, okay, of Latino background. This is way different compared to Puerto Rican / Cuban, right? Or let's just say Venezuelan or Panamanian. They're not the same. It's the same way if you're thinking that Russians are the same as Bulgarians or Serbians or let's see, another group, Belarusians. No, they're different people. Totally different. I mean, we're hearing them speak, you can't tell. But is this their cultures and mannerisms, right? It actually makes sense. Bulgaria is way different than Russia, right? Or the same way for Serbia, okay? And trust me, I actually met a couple of Serbians. They're nowhere near like Russians. They're definitely different. Oh, don't get me started, Bosnians, right? And they're basically the Islamic Slavics. It's really interesting. It is. Mexicans, well, they're the Catholics, right? Well, let's just say I think all of South America is Catholic. At least to an extent. Well, at least for Chile, though, they're probably not as Catholic as Mexicans, though. They're way different. Plus, they're more European, more of Italian compared to Mexican. They're just, I don't know. In a way, I know it's weird. Well, Mexicans are more native, right? Chile, well, there's not as many. That makes sense, right? I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. But from my experience growing up around the Mexican culture, right, it can be pretty chaotic. What I mean by that, from that video that I've seen, it's so concerning how a lot of Mexicans go through this, right? And again, here in the U.S., it's the same way if you think about, let's just say, Jewish people, for example, okay, that lost their families from the Holocaust, or they get bullied or threatened just because they're Jewish here in the States, compared to how, well, Israel, for example, they want to bomb Iran, and not to mention West Gaza. I don't want to go there. I know. I still remember I seen a really great Palestinian American that got death threats from Israelis that work for the IDF. I'm shocked. It must be the cartel at that point. Sucks, right? This is a Mexican version of it. And because I know how Mexicans in this country that want to be American citizens, speaking the language, at least the best way they can, trying to get by being construction workers, plumbers. Oh, you'd be surprised. Okay? I'm not kidding. Right? Those are the Mexicans I do want in our country. But not the ones that basically do smuggle drugs illegally, that basically are rapists and whatnot, that, would bring guns and murders random citizens. No, they should get deported in El Salvador. Enough said. Okay, the president, whom he's hot, by the way, forgot his name, is doing an amazing job because their crime rate is dropped. They're strict. But hey, it's the same way in the Middle East. Yeah, they got strict rules, but at least the crime rate is really low. Honestly, I'm not kidding, right? And it's coming from someone that likes to showing the skin and basically likes to at least, well, just have friendships around other people, not sexualizing people. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Because I know it's going to be first, but I want to talk about quite a while. I'm thinking, Dion, you should talk about it. So yeah, sorry if I'm rambling, because I do this a lot. Basically, my experience with Mexicans, right? They are really family-oriented. That's what I love about them. I'm not kidding. They are really, really family-oriented. They are. It's the same way as Filipinos. They are really close to their families, right? Now, I just want to say this, compared to, let's just say, Eastern Europe, not as much. Or at least in the Scandinavian countries, they're pretty isolated, right? Let's just say if you go to Finland, I mean, I know they do care about families, but nowhere near as much as Mexico. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. This is just my belief, because I know Finns are really introverted like me and are really quiet. Mexicans, though, they can be quite loud, right? They can be quite loud. Not to mention of how they like to party past 3 a.m. That's really common, at least of my city's origin. It doesn't bother me though. I'm kind of used to it, right? Because sometimes I would hear the music could be loud, even though we have Guamo wall. I don't know how to explain it. Our walls are really thick. Okay, you could be really loud and no one would call 911 or whatever if you're just partying a little bit loud. No, Okay, not sure how it's like the Midwest or the Deep South, for example, right? Hell, the eastern side of the country, okay? Literally, it's like that. It actually makes sense. Let's just say it's similar to living in Western Europe, right? Think about Spain, Portugal. It's like that. It's as though we are living in Western Europe, but the American version, if that makes sense, right? Because yes, the Spanish did colonize Mexico, if I remembered. I don't know much about the Mexican history, sadly, though. I know Sigmund was supposed to be the independence from Spain, from the Spaniards. Right? Correctly, I'm wrong again. Okay? I don't want to be much of a bookworm because it'll give me a migraine if I am. So for me, personally, they can be a little bit judgmental. They can be a little, they do like to have dark humor. They do like to bully. Well, in a friendly way, at least. That's how I see it. Because they do act like that, right? And they are pretty obsessed with being macho. Let's just say compared to well, I'm sure Filipinos are macho, but Mexicans are hardcore. I think they're the most macho people ever. Well, I'm sure Indians, but let's just say this is a different type of macho culture, as in being in fights and then in gangs, right? Indians, I'm sure that's way different, right? And it does get a little bit nerve-wracking sometimes, because I know that from my experience, I did met some really awful Mexicans myself. I have. Okay, they're Mexican-American, that actually helps. They can be quite a bit of a nasty bunch. Right, what I mean by that is, well, I'm sure they're way different than Mexicans, right? Maybe it's because they know that they get more freedom than Mexicans do, and they kind of, if you know it's Mexican-American, I hope you're not offended. If so, then please pardon me for that. It's just the ones I met that bullied me were Mexican-American, right? At least I think so. Because there's a handful of the ones that are born in Mexico but live here, but yet again, a handful that are born in the States but their parents are Mexican, if that makes sense, right? Maybe it's because of the way that they act, and thinking that they can act like Karens. I know us Americans can be that way compared to Mexicans, though. I don't know exactly, because I don't think it's important to ask, oh, are you born here? Or, well, not always, right? Because it's not my business. I just know that they're Mexican. And, well, I don't know, okay? I don't know. I figured that, yeah, they're born here in the States, because almost half of my city is Mexican, if that makes sense, right? And let's just say that, you know, the culture, because I know they're all over the country, right? I do not know how it's like for Puerto Ricans or Cubans, or let's just say Venezuelans. They're way different, right? They're way different. And another thing, if I could actually point out, maybe some of them can be a little bit homophobic. That's another thing. Right? At least from my experience, or at least someone that's an ally, they can be. But I know they're really friendly. I mean, I did met a handful of friendly ones, but yet again, I did met a lot that are not as friendly. Maybe I'm just getting random flashbacks, okay? And how they tend to make their own people look awful. And this is supposed to be for Mexicans in general. Okay, both Mexican, American, and Mexicans, whatever. Because with the LA protests that I've been hearing about, especially from Nick Shirley's channel, I get it. ICE can be really, really, really evil at times. But same way for, let's just say, the protesters, especially the Mexican protesters, right? Of how they're not waving the American flag. If you want to live in the U.S., you gotta at least have respect for this country. I'm sorry. It's the same way if you want to visit Japan, especially for my Americans out there. I've been seeing of those streamers, Johnny Somali, for example. That is not right. So it actually makes sense, right? I'm getting a little tired. You know, I think these are the Mexican Americans I don't like, right? Because they were born here, but yet again, they don't want to raise the American flag. The politics is just too much for me. Okay, because I know. Okay, let me explain this, right? I'm getting a little flashback here. Basically, in my neighborhood, this is a little secret that people about this. If that, let's just say Mexico is weird, okay? It is. And Mexican American. It gets a little confusing. Okay, they're not the same in a way. They're different, right? It's just the Mexican American ones I think I have more issues with because the way that they mistreated me, right? I guess because of the American freedom, whatever, that makes them more racist. Oh, that's what I'm trying to say, is that I didn't like how Mexican Americans treated me because they have a little ick with them, right? Because in the past, I did get racially profiled by a handful of them. I don't want to go there. I don't, but I still do appreciate my Mexican viewers regardless. If you don't like this video, or you probably think I'm really, if I'm filled with hatred, I understand. I'm trying not to come up that way. Okay, I'm just speaking up on my mind because I know, quote, I'll get counsel for it, where the hell that means. The thing is, if you see some trucks, right, because I know Mexicans love having those big trucks. Okay, yet again, we're here in the U.S., so that makes sense, and we border the country, right? So for my viewers, let's say in Europe, yes, we do have big trucks here, and everything is much larger. It's a different globe compared to your origin. If they wave 2 flags, okay, and again, I love the Mexico flag. It's adorable. It is. Okay, I'm being honest. Okay, I know there's some country flags I don't like, but I'm not that judgmental towards any flags. It depends. If they have a big Mexican flag and a little one, that means they're Mexican American. I think I had some footage when I used to go for walks, though. Right? I would love to make an Arizona iceberg on this. I thought that's interesting. Right? Don't worry, they're not evil or anything, unless they probably work for the hotels you don't know about, because I know we don't live too far from the border, etc. Right? It's as though if I would be living in Ukraine and, well, okay, maybe if I live somewhere in Finland and I don't live too far from Russia and they want to invade, something like that, right? I don't explain it. And I hear stories of how Mexico is dangerous. Yes, it is. Even though it is safe, it just depends on the person. It depends on the state that you're from. Everyone's experience is different. Okay, just because it's safe for someone doesn't mean it's going to be safe for others. Okay, especially, again, your skin pigment, your gender, or sex / whatever. Age, yeah. Okay, everyone is different. That's just how it is. That's why I don't blame people that don't like my city because it's too hot, which I definitely get, or it's too dangerous. I absolutely do get. Honestly, yes, it depends on the neighborhood, because, yeah, our city can be a little dangerous in some parts, absolutely, but not Sudan level, if that makes sense, okay? Or the Middle East, far from that. Not even Chicago's level, if that helps. If they're Mexican, as in originate from the country, okay? They just wave the Mexican flag, the big Mexican flag. So again, if they have the little one, at least that's what someone told me, then they're Mexican American, if that makes sense. I remember seeing one of those trucks. Now, it doesn't happen all the time. I forgot when of the year, though. I don't remember, though, but I've seen some of those in my neighborhood, which is pretty awesome. I gotta admit, right? And I don't know, I thought that's really interesting. Now, basically, for me personally, I never know why Mexicans can be a little bit racist, right? I guess I was a little unlucky. Yes, there are kind ones, but let's just say if I try to just be involved in certain events, I feel that I do not belong. And maybe it's because, from my experience, they're the ones that are probably not too far from the border, right? Especially the Mexican American ones, because they're whitewashed, right? And again, every darn race has issues. It's truth, right? The thing is, Mexico, they're known for having European ancestry. Let's just say German and Italian, so they appear white, right? And I did experience discrimination from them compared to the ones that are darker skinned, or heck, just to be off topic, Cubans, because they don't see me as this an insect compared to them. You'd be surprised. I got discriminated, not a lot, but enough to the effort that it does affect me, and I just do not know why. I don't. I don't. And just to share a little bit about the Mexican culture, okay? I remember one time I was going for a walk. I thought maybe it's because I was the only mixed black, but let's say black, okay? That's how I appear. Person that was in this. I wasn't involved. Don't worry. I was just a witness, I guess. I didn't see anyone killed or anything. Again, about witness is seeing a group of, there was a lot of them. Okay, I guess it was a man named Ayala, I believe. That's his last name. I don't remember his first name. I think he got ran over. I don't know. Right? I think it could have been a tragic car accident. All of them are Mexican, right? Latino. And they're carrying, let's just say what you see in the thumbnail. Okay, those Catholic candles. I'm not sure it's like in other countries, right? I know probably in Russia they probably have something similar, but they're Orthodox, so it's different. Okay, there's a difference between being Orthodox and Catholic, I'm sure. They were crying and morphing of this man's death. And I didn't want to interrupt their, let's just say, their grief, right? And I asked one of the girls, I'm not sure if she's in high school or I think she could be in college. Because I had this, and don't worry, I died flat because they'll be really rude of me. I asked them, did someone die? And I think she says yes, but I asked, like, who is it? So she probably don't know. She says, I don't know. Right? And I didn't want to be around too long because I don't want to interfere. I didn't. And I just continued snaking my way to Dollar Tree. And I was the only... There was a lot of them. I think probably around... It was a lot of people. 70. It was right off the sidewalk. Right next to the street, right? Because there was a really tiny church. Even though it doesn't seem like a church. Right? I mean, I just guess there was a lot of them. So many. Basically, a whole church full of people. Okay? And I... you know, felt out of place. I did. I did feel out of place. Because I thought, oh my gosh, I'm the only black person here. I feel that they probably would feel a little bit uncomfortable, and especially I don't speak Spanish natively, then I'll just keep walking and, you know, just hoping for the best for them just to heal. Because I'm sure a lot of them were not just family, but definitely friends, right? Or just someone that they know, acquaintances even. And that just goes to show you how close Mexicans are, right? And yes, there is a lot of problems for the Mexican culture. I mean, the macho, that's one thing, and then play loud music. I'm sure some Mexicans feel guilty sharing that because that makes them un-Mexican or in Mexican, right? Then you're not a Mexican person for saying that. That is totally prickly crud. The gang activity, especially cartels, etc., right? That's a big problem. And other stuff that I don't even know about yet because I feel that it may be a little tense to talk about it. I thought I could bring this up because it was a really tragic video. Oh, pardon me. Of 3 Mexican men all tatted up to shoot this a random family for no apparent reason, and that poor boy, he got shot in the head. And he was only 11. It's tragic. Mexicans, they do go do a lot of grief. They do lose loved ones. I saw that lost loved ones himself. Okay, I can relate. Absolutely. As someone that, well, more than that, okay, there's just a lot that I probably don't know about the Mexican culture, though, which I would love to explore, but I feel that I'm too dark for that because of the way I was treated. I just want to say this. I do get a little intimidated if I see... This is not a racial way. It's just the way I was treated. Okay? There was a video of... This happened in Florida. Of course it would be. A poor 4-year-old boy that was naked out on the street. I don't know why. And he was alone with his 6-year-old sister. I don't believe that. The mother should go to jail for child abandonment. And I forgot the other name of it. You just can't do that to your own child. You can't. You can't do it to your own DNA. The 4-year-old boy cried when, because I could see he felt a bit nervous to the officers because I think they were white. No, I mean this could be quite obvious, right? It was a random couple. They were both black, I believe. One, he sounded Jamaican though, but I guess he's Haitian. And his girlfriend, she's probably, I think she's black, Hispanic. She looks like it. I don't remember though. And I forgot the name of the video. Okay, this have a swimmer, Holly something in Florida, I think. And basically the Furrow was just hugging in the man's arms, maybe it's because the way he speaks his accent, and because he was speaking Creole, right? I think it's supposed to be Haitian Creole, but it's Creole, right? It's not Patois. Patois is basically broken English. Basically, again, let's just say it's Jamaica's second language, right? I know it's kind of funny to say that they got totally different vocab. They do. It is English, but it's totally different, right? It's totally different. And it was heartwarming to see a random man hugging that 4-year-old boy because the way he's abandoned by his mother, he doesn't have to be, his DNA does to feel comfortable around him. And I would love to feel that way towards Mexicans myself, but I guess it means because of my experience, I'm so distant from them, right? And it kind of reminds me, maybe I guess that's why people hang around with certain groups. It's not racism, at least from somewhat a YouTuber said. Okay, now if you don't want to be around them, or you just avoid being friends with them, then it should consider being racist because they're just a human being like everyone else. However, though, if it takes you a while to get comfortable around them, you want to acknowledge them, that is absolutely fine. For me personally, I guess that's probably why I get nervous around other Mexicans sometimes because they would not like to be around me because I feel that I'm an alien compared to them. Right? I'm not kidding, especially when I try to speak Spanish. You'd be surprised. And I'm thinking, you know what, maybe I shouldn't be around this, or maybe they don't want me to be around. And I feel different. I think that's why for the couple of blacks I know, I feel comfortable around them. Because, maybe it's because we have similar well, not just that, but our situations are really similar. Compared to that, or Latino, for example, they're different. I guess, sadly for me, I wasn't exposed enough to be having, let's just say, Latino friends, right? And it just feels weird to me. Not in a bad way, because I feel that they won't like me and that I gotta give them space, and I don't know. I get jealous seeing other blacks like me that can basically have friends with someone that is Latino. I would love to have that. But I got mistreated, bullied by so many people that were Hispanic. I get nervous, kinda, because do they not want me here? Or do I need to keep walking? If that makes sense, right? Especially since I know that they're known for being hated in the media because, again, with the LA protests and then the drug girls that, oh my gosh, if you're a Mexican, though, yeah, you gotta shoot me or something. No! I mean, I don't know where the hell that comes from. I'm making that up because I would be surprised if someone on this earth in the U.S. would think that way because of what we see in the media, right? And that's what people see Mexicans. I don't. It's just that maybe from my experience, they don't want it to be around me because we're so different. I know because my school, did have friends, but we weren't that close or anything, right? It was mostly Mexican. Out of 3,000 students, if I remember, or 2,800, 80% of them were Mexican. So, yeah, imagine a little village that's mostly Hispanic, right? And you feel that you cannot just be your actual self without being judged. What else I want to mention about this video? I know it's really long, and I apologize for that. But just seeing that about Albuquerque, it's a beautiful city. It just sucks that the crime rate is so bad. It just sucks that, is this what New Mexicans or New Mexicans are seeing? I know there are kind ones out there, of course, globally. But sadly, it's just, the state is just such in a bad shape. It is. People don't want to admit it. Honestly, I would love to visit. Not to mention, they got the. For when I'm not sure if I'm going to say this. They do have the best flag? Question mark? But yet again, no, my flag is the best flag. We didn't get born here, so of course I'm going to say that. But they have the top, let's just say 3. Well, I don't know, top 5. Okay? Best flags in the country. And this beautiful, scenery. They don't have a skyline because they're not that populated. But I wanted to share this of how I feel about Mexicans, though, because they are great people. They do work really hard. They do. I always wonder why they work on cars so much. I'm guessing that's just part of the culture. Same way if you think about Asians of how they, I don't know what about Asians. That I gotta look up. Not the stereotype of math or whatever. I despise stereotypes. I do. Okay. I forgot what they're known for. And also we're talking about the country too. I guess you could say cell phones or um books, etc. Crafting, right? Unless I'm wrong. But okay, I'm getting a little bit drowsy right now. That's just how I feel about Mexicans because of oh my Buddha. I'm acted with from my experience, right? So I just thought I could actually just share that because growing up, I did meet some Mexicans myself. I did. And I got terrified of them, I guess, because, well, they don't play around. They don't. Right? They don't. Especially how another culture. We're talking about Mexicans, right? Mexican Latinos. They're known for, let's just say, being kidnapped or having to join those, drug groups or this domestic violence. Well, I'm sure that's more towards natives, which I should share another day, maybe. Right? I know there's other stuff I've probably forgotten because it is really late and all. It is the middle of the night. Okay, 2:48. I just want to, I guess, how I feel. Because I always thought this would offend Mexicans in general for it. Honestly, I always thought that they don't want to be friends with me. I don't care what race someone is to be friends with. I don't. What I do care is how they treat me. Because I did grow up in a neighborhood that's pretty diverse. We don't have a little Italy or a Chinatown. We don't have that here. So we have a melting pot. You could have a Serbian next door. You could have a Native American that lives below you. You could literally have, let's just say, a Swahili this right across the street or something. Who knows? Right? Really diverse. So, oh yeah, I'm about to pass out right now. I just thought I could just get this out of my system because I need to brush the teeth again. Oh, I need to get Sosodone. Yeah, you've been brushing. Yeah. So I'm so tired to share my experiences. So on that, that's just something I just wanted us to get out. And yeah, I'm not kidding. I always thought that if you are Mexican, you don't want to be around me. Well, Latino, right? Because even though we both probably went through discrimination, but in different ways, I always think that I would just not be able to connect. And me being jealous of seeing some black YouTubers that would travel on blacktubers, I like to call it. Black tubers visit Mexico and they have some amazing experiences. Honestly, I would love to have that. But other than that, I hope to put his belly that this video didn't really come off as offensive because I just wanted to share facts about basically the country. That basically borders are borders. Or borders are borders. And man, hearing about that poor boy that died, I just can't imagine that. That's because what, they're Hispanic and they look alike? I just don't get it. I don't. Literally, that country has gone through so much. Also, I always keep hearing the vacuum. No, but it's not a vacuum. It's supposed to be my brother playing with the airbag, which he is not doing right now. I do hear braces and that there. Ugh. I just hope to put his belly again. This has not offended any Mexicans whatsoever. There's probably one more thing I want to add because at the end I recorded a probably can't remember what it is. Oh. But that's the video that I've seen, and I just couldn't believe my eyes. I couldn't. So that's just something that I want to address. And if you're Mexican, what do you least like about your culture or me? Heck, the foods. Depending on your choice. And I would say Mexicans do have a delicious, amazing food. They do. I think they have my favorite type. So I just wanted this to get this out of my system, and yeah, that's basically how some Mexicans would act. And yes, a handful of them can be a bunch. Okay, they can be. I don't want to make this about race or whatnot, even though, oh yeah, this is racism, but I'm not cursing anyone out, and I'm just being honest and calm about how I feel about another country. So that's just, something that I want to get off my system. And yeah, I guess that's, oh dear, oh, it. Um, I just hope that if, I wanted to share one thing. If you are a Mexican viewing this, feel free to add the Mexican flag, and if you're Mexican American, you do the same, but with the American flag right behind it. And if you're an ally, you could probably add. Well, I don't know what the heck you get out as an ally. I don't know. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm gonna pass out. But yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. One thing that I do feel really distant from Mexicans, right, is that they're so extroverted. That's not a bad thing, though. But I notice they are going to go to parties. They don't get rejected like I have. This for like friendships with other people, and I just do not know how. Honestly, I just do not know how. Yes. Oh yeah. I'm about to fall asleep.